Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. The regular meeting of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board for Thursday, January 21st will now come to order. I will read a few notices and instructions. The public will be allowed to attend at a reduced rate of 50% capacity of the Professional Development Center meeting room space. Once that capacity has been reached, admission to the meeting space will be closed. All audience members will be required to wear a mask at all times. Masks will be available upon request. All audience members will also undergo temperature screening before entering the meeting room. The regular meeting scheduled for January 21st, 2021 at 5 p.m. will be streamed live via YouTube. A link to watch the meeting can be found on board docs located on the school board website, ebrschools.org/about. A period for written public comment will be provided before the meeting as well as before each action is taken by the board on an action item. Individuals wishing to make a public comment about any of the posted items will need to click on the agenda item in board docs and submit via the highlighted public comment hyperlink on the agenda item details. Online comments are available for public review. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order. Invocation by School Board Member Jill Dyson and Pledge of Allegiance led by Cadet Captain Idaneth Garcia, Woodlawn High School, accompanied by Colonel Eric Keys, Senior Army Instructor.
A prayer for our new school semester. Heavenly Father, at the start of our new school semester, we give you thanks for the work in all of our schools, and particularly in East Baton Rouge Parish. We pray for all children starting in new schools, virtual, in-person, and for those returning. Help them to explore what they can achieve and give them confidence to play their part in shaping our world. We pray for all those who work in our schools. Care for them as they care for our children. We pray for our board, our superintendent, and ask that you grant us the wisdom and sound judgment and help us to keep children's well-being at the heart of everything we do. We ask this in Jesus' name, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of introducing Cadet Captain Idaneth Garcia Rodriguez. She is a junior at Woodlawn High School in her third year in the Woodlawn JROTC program. She recently earned honors as the top Leadership Education and Training Level 3 JROTC cadet in East Baton Rouge Parish. And I might add that she was also the top Level 2 cadet in East Baton Rouge Parish. Idaneth has a 4.1 cumulative grade point average. She plays violin in the Woodlawn Orchestra and is a company commander in the JROTC program. After high school, her plans are to attend Louisiana State University and either major in chemical engineering or pursue a degree in law with a minor in music. While her life's goal is to become a chemist working on alternative fuels, she's also been intrigued with the law and may consider pursuing a law degree. Ladies and gentlemen, Cadet Garcia.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Please accept this from our superintendent and our board and know that we appreciate you as a wonderful role model in our schools. Thank you for doing such a great job at Woodlawn High School.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Thank you. And if you have family, I don't know if you have family here, but,
Her sister Evelyn is in one of the breakout rooms.
well, thank you for being part of that wonderful family support.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will move on to the roll call, but before we go to the roll call, General Counsel Shamlin, would you like to?
Yes, yes, thank you, President Gode. Just want to put everyone on notice that Board Member Dawn Collins is in attendance. She is in the building, but attending virtually. And there's case law and legislation that kind of supports that approach. So she is in attendance and should be counted in the roll.
Thank you, sir. So, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct the roll?
District 7, President Gode.
Here?
District 3, Vice President Howard.
Present.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Here.
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Here.
District 4, Ms. Collins.
Present.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson. District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Present.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Present.
District 9, Mr. Tapman.
Present. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the item C1, meeting minutes. Approval of the school board minutes of December 17, 2020, regular board meeting January 6, 2021, and January 14, 2021, special board meetings, and the January 14, 2021 Committee of the Whole as published in the official journal. Do I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Bernard, seconded by Mr. Howard. Is there any discussion from the board? Seeing none, any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary?
Please vote. Mr. Blue? We have to do a roll call vote. Mr. Lannis hasn't been able to get in.
Yes.
Mr. Lannis?
Yes.
District 3, Vice President Howard.
Yes.
District 4, Ms. Collins.
Yay.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Yes.
District 7, President Gode.
Yes.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Yes.
District 9, Mr. Tapman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we go to item D1, Principals of the Year. Recognition of the 2021 East Baton Rouge Parish School System's Principals of the Year.
Good evening, President Gode, Vice President Howard, Superintendent Narcisse, and members of the board. I am Laura Williams, Executive Director for School Leadership. This year, Joni Roberts, Executive Director, and I were tasked with chairing the 2021 Principal of the Year process for our district. The Louisiana Department of Education recognizes that great principals are critical to student success. Annually, the department, in partnership with the Louisiana Association of Principals, recognizes and celebrates some of the state's most exceptional school leaders through the Principal of the Year program. The program provides an opportunity to acknowledge school leaders who are making exceptional gains with students. Their commitment to student success exemplifies the Louisiana education profession. The 2021 district and application process was inclusive of submission of an online application, resume, responses to reflection questions, and school achievement data. Candidate submissions were judged by a committee of internal and external judges using the state's rubric. The winners that emerged from each level will represent our district and proceed to the state level competition. At this time, I will invite each EBR 2021 finalist for Principal of the Year from the elementary, middle, and high school divisions to accept their nomination. Our first nominee is Dr. Claudette Perkins from Audubon Elementary.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. Come on, Mr. Butler. Come on. We together.
Just want to say real quick, Ms. Perkins is the real deal. If anybody's ever been to Audubon, it's a very special school, and anytime I go by there, I'm always impressed. And for any parents that want to check it out, I encourage you to do so. It's an impressive school. I want to present you with a medal. I know you have a bunch of these. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Ballou. Good evening. Good evening, Superintendent Narcisse, President Goday, and Vice President Howard, and all members of the board. I'd like to take this opportunity to first give honor and thanks to the Lord. I'd also like to humbly accept this recognition and just share with you how much the Audubon Elementary family and I truly appreciate the recognition. I'd also like to take a brief moment just to thank family, friends, and persons that have allowed me to stand on their shoulders and to walk alongside them during this journey, this educational journey. I think those persons know who they are. I've had a huge outpouring and support from people. There have been people that have allowed me to walk on their shoulders, like, of course, Mrs. Brister, Rochelle Williams, Muriel Haysbert. There are people that have allowed me to walk alongside them, like Jessica Brister, Charmaine Rutledge, Tamara Johnson. I'm most grateful. So I thank those persons. Last, but definitely not least, I'd like to thank the AES family for supporting my vision, literacy education. If you've had an opportunity to ever visit Audubon Elementary School, then I know that you can appreciate when I say a vision for literacy education. I think we all know that the data has proven how important a true literacy foundation is for all students. So with that, I'd like to conclude, and I'd like to thank you again for the recognition. Thank you.
Our middle school principal of the year is Mrs. Erin Howard from Glasgow Middle School.
Good evening, all. I'm Erin Howard. I am Glasgow Middle's principal, and I am thrilled to represent EBR as the middle school principal of the year. So good evening to President Goday, Vice President Howard, members of the board, Superintendent Narcisse. It has been a wonderful journey to be the principal of Glasgow Middle, and I could not thank more people. My family, my friends, my Glasgow family, my EBR family, and the South Downs community. Because without all of those people, Glasgow would not be a success, and neither would I. So I thank you for this. I thank you for the recognition, and I just thank everyone who has ever helped me in any possible way. Hello, Mr. Goday.
Hello, how you doing? Yeah, I just have to say a few things. Ms. Howard is one of the rare people that whenever I see her, she smiles and is happy that I'm there. And I think that's because she has confidence in what is happening at her school and has confidence in her team that they are doing great things. So I want to congratulate you very much. It's an award well deserved.
Thank you, Mr. Goday.
Our high school principal of the year is Mr. Brandon Levatino. It's a little complicated. Mr. Levatino was nominated when he was at Northeast High School, but he is now the principal of Liberty High School. Mr. Levatino.
Thank you, thank you.
President Gode, Vice President Howard, Dr. Narcisse, members of the board. I just thank you for this honor. I appreciate the recognition. The Principal of the Year Award is an interesting thought because there's no way one person does all of this. And I've been blessed in my time at Northeast to have a wonderful team to work with who helped me accomplish what I was able to accomplish. And then as I've moved to Liberty, to be able to take part in a team that is working to continue that same legacy on a new campus. So with that, I appreciate the recognition for our teams, and I accept this not only on my behalf, but on the behalf of the people who worked alongside with me to bring about the success, the student success that we've been able to celebrate.
Mr. Levantino,
Yes, sir.
this is a sad day for me for several reasons, one of which is because you're no longer part of the Northeast family, but now you're transcending on to the Liberty High School family. So I just want to thank you on behalf of our superintendent, our board, as well as the board president and vice president. Thank you for all that you do for our children.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. And we introduced Mrs. Collins as being virtual in the meeting. I also forgot to mention that our new superintendent, Dr. Cito Narcisse, is also online virtually and will be participating in this meeting. Next is item D2, VIPS Partner in Education. Recognition of the VIPS Partner in Education for the month of January. Cameron Jackson, Millennial Park CEO.
Greetings, everyone. Superintendent Narcisse, President Gode, and Vice President Howard, and all members of the board, thank you all for having us once again. My name is Kaya Simmons. I'm the Volunteer and Community Partners Director for VIPS, and our guest today is Mr. Cameron Jackson. We're excited about sharing with you this amazing partnership that is new for us. Cameron has been doing some phenomenal work in the community and has made great strides and made it very clear and present that he is interested in supporting our community in many different ways. He was approached by VIPS to consider a literacy space at Millennial Park. He loved the idea, and we began talking about what that could look like. So we partnered with, as you can imagine, the limitations that COVID has presented has kind of had us be more creative in how we can continue to serve our community and support public schools. So with this project, the idea was spawned from the Little Free Libraries concept where you can take a book or leave a book. Cameron loved the idea so much that he wanted the structure to be more grand and was so generous in actually building the building itself. And so VIPS brought in our partners and partnered with Mentorship STEAM Academy student body. They have some amazing digital design and arts programs. So the students not only designed the graphic artwork to promote and announce the library, but they designed the artwork for the building as well. So week after week, they would come along with their teachers, and even Principal Smith joined a few times on occasions to paint the building and design it for a kid-friendly environment. You can actually sit inside of the building, the structure, and children can draw on the black chalkboard paint walls as well on the inside. So it's very engaged, very stimulating, very brightly colored. We do have a PowerPoint so you can see what it looks like, but feel free to stop by Millennial Park and check it out and drop off some books and take some books as well. This is very important because the students now have a stake in a literacy project, and they understand the value of encouraging reading, not only in the patrons that visit Millennial Park, but the surrounding community has access to this hundreds of books, as you can see there. We have some partners, Penn Siri, Knock Knock Museum, and Line for Line that donated the books, and we also are very grateful for Aramark and Mid-City Redevelopment for loaning us and donating paint and the paint supplies to make this project happen. So we're just very excited about this structure. We hope that it's a permanent fixture there at Millennial Park. We believe that it is, as you can see how grand it is and super cute. And so we're just thrilled that the students were able to showcase their talents, and we hope that the engagement with Cameron, seeing a young entrepreneur and business owner and being able to talk with him and get inspired by him will encourage them to continue to use their skills and talents and develop their ideas to their future career paths. And I'll let Cameron speak from now.
Hello, Cameron Jackson with Millennial Park. And VIPS, partnering with VIPS and doing this project, it meant a lot. It's something that I've always kind of wanted to do. Little Free Library, when she told me about it and I kind of saw the pictures of them and how small they were, I was like, well, I asked her, can we go bigger and better? So, you know, it's, as you can see, it's a little bit bigger than a Little Free Library, but we have over 500 books. The kids enjoyed it. I enjoyed the whole process. It was just awesome to be able to see how they were just be able to come together and just had different ideas. And it's just, I feel like it's a different feel being able to come to Millennial Park. You know, you're getting out of the, you know, the normal elements that you're in, and you'll be able to see different things. And I feel like it was huge because when I was younger and I was that age, I always wanted someone to be I was able to look up to without being, you know, those famous athletes, or everyone was always so much older, so it was hard for me to like look up to somebody. And I feel like it was huge for us to be able to partner because they're able to see someone my age, you know, that they can connect with and younger, doing some different things, and they can see that, you know, we can take a different route and we can do different things in different ways to be successful. And I'm really excited about the partnership, and we'll be doing a lot more things with VIPS and at Millennial Park, and I appreciate everything the school board and the school district y'all are doing, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Sir, just on behalf of the superintendent and the school board, and actually the entire community of East Baton Rouge, thank you very much for all that you're doing for our children.
Thank you so much.
Literacy is obviously the most important thing we can teach our kids because that's the key to their future. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for having us.
Thank you.
And Cam, I just wanted to, Kai and Cam, I just wanted to publicly thank you guys for all the work that you're doing at Millennial Park. Cam, as you know, since day one, I've been supporting what's happening at Millennial Park. It's always good to see millennials stay in our community, reinvest in our community, and give life to our community. So continue to do the great work. Thank you for all that you've done for our school district from the beginning, and continue partnering with us. So thank you again.
I'm sorry, Ms. Ware Jackson?
Thank you, Cameron. I just wanted to say thank you so much for adding that to Mid-City. That's my territory. I love that area. I've been watching that space for a long time. And to see you do what you're doing with those like freight cars
Containers.
is amazing, you know, and I'm an arts fanatic, so, you know, I'm all in it. So I'll talk to you offline later.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you
Looking
so
forward
much
to
for
it.
your
Thank you.
contribution to Mid-City.
Okay, here we go. Just wanted to say thank you. It is so invigorating to see someone young, a young millennial inside of this community giving back. But that's not only giving back, but you're also a small business owner. So you are literally inspiring so many of our students to do the same thing. And I just wanted to say my hat goes off to you, and I give you an air fist bump, my brother. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Darius. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we will go to item E in the standalone, the election of the president of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board. And for this, I will turn the meeting over to Dr. Narcisse. But before I do, I would like to just say a few quick words. The last 2 years as being president of this board has been an honor and a challenge. It's been a very interesting 2 years. I do appreciate the time and effort and that you have given me, other fellow board members, in trying to work through many of these issues. And I also thank the community for really stepping up. I think the community engagement is growing rapidly, and that's a good thing. And we may not always agree, but I think I will always agree to listen. And I think that's what I've tried to do, and I hope that that has been received that way. And I look forward to resuming a position on the board and being an active board member. It's I'm actually looking forward to that. It feels like, almost like when I did when I retired. So with that, I will turn the meeting over to Dr. Okay, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, President Godey, and I also want to just thank the board for giving me the last 2 years to serve in this capacity. And to Mike's point, it has definitely been a challenge, but definitely a rewarding learning experience. My encouragement to the next administration is to just really get us back to focusing on students and figuring out how to unify us as a collective voice so that outcomes are better for students. So thank you guys for the opportunity, and I appreciate the support over the last 2 years.
With that, Dr. Narcisse, if you want to test your mics, the board is yours.
Thank you, President. So I, the floor for nominations for the office of President.
I would like to nominate Mr. David Tapman.
Are there any other nominations?
I move we close nominations.
Speaking to your mic so you can hear. I'm not running the meeting.
I move we close nominations.
I will now a motion nominations.
So
Are there any
moved by Ms. Bernard. I second the motion.
Are there any comments from the board? The audience? Okay, any comments from other board members?
I request a roll call vote. Oh, to close the nominations, I'm sorry. To close the nominations, we do not need a roll call vote.
Okay. It appears, all right.
Please vote.
This, yeah, we did.
Mr. Lannis. You may have to log out and log back in, or just refresh. The motion carries.
I think you may have to speak a little bit louder for Dr. Narcisse to be able to hear.
Say it again so we can hear you.
Oh, the motion carries.
Okay. I can't see the screen, but to the next. All right, I open floor for nominations of
Well,
President.
We have
We
to
need to vote.
Yeah, we have to take a vote on the nomination for president.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Is that a yes or no?
Mr. Tapman.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah.
I'm being told to say Mr. Tatman, so.
I didn't.
No, I do vote for Mr. Tatman.
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Yes.
Will the motion, yeah.
Tapman.
District 3, Mr. Howard.
Tapman.
District 4, Ms. Collins.
Tapman.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Yes. Chapman?
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Chapman.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Tatman.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Tatman.
District 9, Mr. Tapman.
Tatman.
Mr. Tapman is our president.
Okay,
No.
Congratulations.
He needs to run the next one, too.
I open the for nominate of office of
I'd like to nominate, I'd like to nominate Dawn Collins.
Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Dawn Collins.
Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Darius Lannis.
Are there any other nominations?
Motion to close nominations.
I will now motion to close nominations.
We need a second.
Ms. Ware Jackson.
Dyson.
I mean, Ms. Dyson.
Now entertain to close nomination.
You have a motion and a second, so Dr. Narcisse, you will need to allow a motion to close nominations. And now comments from the board.
Are there any comments from the board?
You can't see his
He's asking for comments on closing. No comments from the board.
The audience?
None from the audience.
Okay.
So we go back to the board for comments.
Any comments from the board?
Please,
Conduct the vote.
please vote. The motion carries.
All right, Dr. Narcisse, the motion carried, so we can now move to the vote for vice president.
Board and audience. You have to go back to the board and audience.
Oh, I'm sorry. Comments from the board.
Comments from the board?
No, we actually, Ms. Tapman, we already taken comments from the board, the audience, and back to the board.
That was the close the
And we took a vote to close the nominations. So now we move to a vote for the vice president. I'm sorry.
District 1, Mr. Blue.
Ms. Collins?
District 2, Mr. Lannis.
Lannis.
District 3, Mr. Howard.
Lannis.
District 4, Ms. Collins.
Collins?
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson.
Lannis.
District 6, Ms. Dyson.
Collins.
District 7, Mr. Gode.
Collins.
District 8, Ms. Bernard.
Collins.
District 9, Mr. Tapman.
Collins.
It's 6-3, Ms. Collins.
Congratulations, Ms. Collins, as vice president.
Thank you.
We'll need to swear in the president prior to him taking the seat, and we will swear Ms. Collins in at a later point due to her being isolated.
Ms. Ware Jackson, would you like the floor now?
Guys, on behalf of the board, I would like to express my appreciation on behalf of the board to former President Goday and former Vice President Howard for a couple of hard years of work. And we really appreciate your passion and your effort and all that you've done to bring us through these couple of years. We've had some really tough hurdles. And so I have a little something here on behalf of our board to present to you. And I will just do this very, very, very easily.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Howard, thank you for your service.
Repeat after me. I, David Tatman,
I, David Tatman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of this state,
of this state,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon me
all the duties incumbent upon me
as President of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board,
as President of the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board,
according to the best of my ability
according to the best of my ability
and understanding, so help me God.
and understanding, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I just want to take a moment to thank the board for this incredible honor to lead. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I want to make sure that every voice is heard. Each of you represent your districts and therefore the constituents, the children, the schools in the district and your district. And I'm going to make mistakes. I hope you'll work with me. I hope you'll help me be a better president. And I hope that we can focus on children and academic success. And I want to work closely with each of you. I want to have an open dialogue. You can call me anytime, 24/7, and I'm going to be there. I'll come to your schools. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm going to do the very best job that I can, but I'm going to need your help. And I just want to, again, I'm honored and privileged, but I'm going to call on you all to help me. And since it's my first meeting in a couple of years, I might struggle through it a little bit, but we'll get through it. So I want to also thank Mr. Goday and Mr. Howard, I know there's been some praise heaped on you all. I watched you all perform admirably, particularly with COVID. No one could have ever imagined what it would be like to run, to be leadership of a school system when you're dealing with all of the things that we've dealt with, the not knowing, the logistics, all of the things. And I think you guys did a great job, and I thank you very much for your leadership over the last 2 years. With that being said, we'll move along in the agenda. We now move to item E3, Resolution National School Counseling Week. Ms. Collins.
Okay. Proclamation, whereas, and y'all can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Whereas school counselors are employed in public schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas the East Baton Rouge Parish School System's school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society, and whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board does hereby proclaim February 1st through 5th, 2021 as National School Counselors Week. School counselors all in for all students. Adopted this 21st day of January 2021.
Moved by Ms. Collins. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Bernard. Thank you, Ms. Collins. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the audience? Seeing none? Oh, no? Okay. Thank you. We all know the incredible role that school counselors play in our kids' everyday lives. Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary?
Please vote.
I'm gonna fix it.
Oh, sorry. Now, please vote.
It didn't, oh, there it is.
There it goes.
There you go.
The motion carries.
Motion carries. We now move to standalone item E4, Resolution National Magnet School Month. Ms. Bernard.
National Magnet School Month proclamation. Whereas there are approximately 4,440 magnet or theme-based schools in the United States serving nearly 3.5 million students. Whereas magnet schools are based on 5 pillars of success: diversity, innovative curriculum and professional development, academic excellence, high-quality instructional systems, and family and community partnerships. Whereas theme-based magnet schools provide families with a wide variety of public school choice options that nourish the individual talents and abilities of all students and prepare them for college and future careers. Whereas magnet school principals and teachers are responsible for providing vision and leadership in their schools and community and have unique skills, talents, and abilities that are developed through theme-based programming and professional development. Therefore, be it resolved, the month of February 2021 is National Magnet School Month, a time for the nation to celebrate school diversity and theme-based magnet programs by hosting events and activities that promote educational equity and excellence for all students. So moved.
Moved by Ms. Bernard. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Goday. Any additional comments from the board? Seeing none, any comments from the audience?
Vice President Collins, Superintendent Dr. Narcisse, and members of the board. On behalf of the Office of Magnet Programs and Magnet Schools of America, thank you for considering the resolution to proclamation February 2021 as National Magnet School Month. We also thank you for providing the instructional needs for students and promoting the district's 28 magnet programs, which include award-winning and certified magnet schools. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other comments from the audience? Seeing none, back to the board. Seeing no requests to speak, Madam Secretary, please open the machines.
Please vote. The motion carries.
Motion carries. We move now to item E5, Resolution for Black History Month. Mr. Howard.
Thank you, President Tapman. Whereas since 1926, our country traditionally commemorates and celebrates the contributions of African Americans during February, whereas the theme of Black History Month for 2021 focuses on the critical role education plays in the history and advancements of the African American community, whereas the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board recognizes the importance of acknowledging the history and culture of African American community, whereas the contributions of African American citizens to areas such as education, medicine, art, culture, public service, politics, and human rights have annually been recognized during the National African American History Month. Whereas National African American History Month is a vehicle to promote culturally relevant activities that will offer opportunities to increase the understanding of all students and benefits all citizens, and further, be it resolved that African American educators in our school system play a significant role in educating our youth. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on this 21st day of January 2021, the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board does hereby proclaim February as Black History Month. So moved.
Moved by Mr. Howard, seconded by Ms. Ware Jackson. Seeing no other comments from the board, we'll go to the audience. Are there any comments from the audience?
President Tapman.
I'm sorry, okay. When we come back, is that cool? Okay.
Mic on?
Is it on? Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Now we're working. Good afternoon. I think that it is very sad. Every single year we have to do a resolution in regards to Black History Month. When I've told y'all before, we have street lights courtesy of an African-American man. We actually have the whites in our light bulbs courtesy of African Americans. We have cotton in our clothes courtesy of African Americans. We have great cuisine in Louisiana courtesy of African Americans. We even have medicine that we use courtesy of African Americans. Quite a few medical procedures we have are courtesy of African Americans. Why do we have to continue to do a resolution when we could just teach about African Americans 180 days a year? The children are in school 180 days, and 180 days we could find a different way to incorporate African American history, literature, and culture. We shouldn't even just have to incorporate African Americans. We should be able to actually consider all heritages, because Louisiana is a big gumbo pot that have many cultures that make it up. So why, when we have Bienvenue en Louisiane on our welcome sign, are we having to consider a resolution for African American history?
or for African American History, Black History Month. So I just ask that instead of wasting our times with all these resolutions, that we just do a cultural competent curriculum that will actually endorse and embrace Black and African American history, Black African American literature, Black African American culture, as well as other diverse populations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments on the resolution? Seeing none, we come back to the board. Mr. Howard.
Thank you, President Tapman. And I just wanted to also encourage us as a board to not only think about Black History Month and the focus of this one particular month, but it's something that we as a collective, as a district, embody from 365 days a year. I would be remiss if I didn't celebrate the fact that the first Black woman went to the White House yesterday. And so we have a lot to show our kids that they can aspire to be. So I just hope that we can embody not just Black history just during February, but the entire premise of the work that we do and involve it in everything and all the actions that we take as a collective school district. So just want to thank you that and celebrate that moment for Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. All points well taken. Ms. Ware-Jackson.
Thank you, President Tapman. I wanted to echo what Mr. Howard said, and in addition, to encourage the audience that we do have some interesting things coming for you as far as Black History Month goes, and beyond that, diving into curriculum. It's something that we've talked about for a long time, and we've got some things in the works. So I just want to encourage you with that. And also, I'm reminded of something local here, that the designer for Vice President Kamala Harris came from here, from Baton Rouge, and from Baton Rouge High. So, you know, kudos to him. And just wanted to bring that up and give us something else to celebrate as we look at the contributions of African Americans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ware-Jackson. Ms. Collins.
I had been trying to get in. For some reason, my chat was muted, so I apologize to let you know I wanted to request to speak. But I do also share the sentiments of the public comment as well as my colleagues on the board. It is extremely important. I know sometimes people who don't necessarily have a history of not being included may not be able to relate or understand to the need to feel, to see that representation and feel that inclusion. And so we might say it and say it again and say it again, but it's because our lived experience has shown us how important it is. It's very validating and affirming to your whole life experience. And so we have, as a district, made some progress in that way, but there's a lot of work that we can do. And so I look forward to us doing that.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Any other comments from the board? Go ahead, Mr. Howard.
So sorry, President Tapman, but
Sorry.
I also wanted to acknowledge for that same moment in the presidential inauguration, we had a group of high school students that represent collective schools here in Baton Rouge featured in the inaugural celebration called We Are One. So special shout out to the McKinley High School Pantherettes and the Louisiana Leadership Institute Marching Band that encompasses students from all over Baton Rouge that are always performing on a national platform. And the McKinley Pantherettes, I think, is a hidden gem for our school district. They do so much to spotlight what great things are happening in East Baton Rouge Parish. So just could not forget that moment without shouting both of those institutions out. So thank you so much, President.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Howard. Any other comments from the board on this item? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please take the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
The motion carries. We now move to item E6, Resolution, Board Member Recognition Month. Ms. Dyson.
whereas the education of Louisiana's school-aged children is the foundation upon which the economic, social, and intellectual capital of our state is built, and whereas locally elected school boards play an important and vital role in a representative democracy in an ever-changing world, and decisions made by local boards of education directly influence instruction in Louisiana's public schools. And whereas these decisions affect the present and future lives of children and also set the direction to prepare all students to be competitive in a local, state, national, and global 21st century economy. And whereas local school board members work with parents, businesses, education professionals, all elected officials, and other community members to create the educational visions we want for our students. And whereas this year's theme, Navigating to Success, reflects the relevance of local school board members as they advocate for public education with local, state, and federal leaders. And whereas the true commitment of local school board members was evident in their work to implement and maintain a safe environment for all students, faculty, staff, and administrators amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas School Board Recognition Month provides an opportunity to build stronger relationships between the thousands of people in Louisiana who champion the mission of public education and school board members. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the East Baton Rouge Parish School System recognizes the contributions of the state's local school boards to the academic success of its public school students and expresses its sincerest recognition to the local school board members for their focus on the well-being and achievement of children throughout the state. And be it finally resolved, the East Baton Rouge Parish School System declares January 2021 as School Board Member Recognition Month and encourages local school districts and community leaders to appropriately recognize our state's dedicated school board members. Adopted this 21st day of January 2021, and I so move.
Moved by Ms. Dyson, seconded by Ms. Ware Jackson. Seeing no questions from the board, going to the audience. Is any comments from the audience?
Thank you. Why are we doing a resolution to recognize our school board members when it is very clear and evident by the people that are here in this building that the school board members, some of them, don't even listen to the constituents or the staff? We had at our last school board meeting where you asked, how can you fix that problem and listen to the staff? They actually spoke and y'all didn't listen. So why would we want to recognize our school board members and actually do a resolution to pay homage to you? That's not something that we should even try to make logic out of. That's not realistic, that's not common sense. That is something that gotta be a figment of your imagination to think that anybody on God's green earth will wanna say, yippee, let's cheer for the school board members. That's not a reality. And I live in a real world, and I say all that to say that some school board members actually did listen to the constituents, actually did listen to the staff, some didn't. Some school board members I can actually pay homage and recognition to, some I can't. I'm not just speaking for some or all. I think it was just very much evident by the comments that we had at the last school board meeting that would reflect my sentiments. So I ask of this school board that we definitely do not pay anything whatsoever, pass a resolution that is gonna pay more recognition to you when you already received $18,000 to absolutely fail our kids, to fail our staff, to fail every person that is here in this whole entire city. Because we are not being recognized, we are not being paid attention to, We are definitely falling on deaf ears. And so when I look up to each and every last one of you, I think that you should be having a resolution saying we're gonna pay recognition to the staff and to the families that actually care about these kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
The motion carries. We move now to item F1 for information only, monthly financial report. We should have had that in your packet. Questions from or comments from the board? Yes, Mr. Goday.
Just one quick comment from the last page of that. I know I've been keeping real close eye on how the sales tax collections have been going. So just FYI, we're still 1% above last year in our sales tax collections to date. So that's very good news. And that's the sales tax collections, I think, in here were through October, because I think there were some holidays and remittance and things like that. But it's something we need to keep a very close eye on. But so far, we're doing fine.
Thank you, Mr. Goday. That's good information. I think Dawn, Ms. Collins.
A quick question. Does staff happen to know what year it was that legislation was passed that we start collecting internet sales, taxes from internet sales? And is that having any, well, I'm sure it is having an impact currently, but I wonder if that's helping with our sales tax.
Thank you.
And if staff doesn't happen to know, then I can just get the information offline later.
Why don't you come to the microphone so that everybody has the benefit of it, please? Thank you.
I do not know the year offhand. Obviously with COVID, with people buying items from Amazon and from off the internet, it is obviously affecting our sales tax and helping our sales tax that they're able to buy things from the internet and we can still collect the sales tax.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
I believe the enactment was June of 2018, I believe. I'll get the exact.
Council is
information for you.
suggesting it was June of 2018 when it was enacted, Ms. Collins.
I'll confirm that for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments from the board? We'll move to item number F2, personnel changes. Any questions or comments on personnel changes? Seeing none, we will move on for information only. Item F3, superintendent's contract. Any comments, questions on the superintendent's contract? Seeing none, we move on to item G1, update from the superintendent. Dr. Narcisse.
Superintendent's update. Thank you so much. It's my first board meeting, so I'm excited to talk about our students. Past and present EBR students participated in the inauguration. It's been a great week. EBR students who are members of the Louisiana Leadership Institute Marching Band were featured in the We Are One inaugural celebration for newly elected President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. The students attend Bel Air High, McKinley High, and Woodlawn Middle School. We also had Christopher John Rogers, that was mentioned earlier, a New York fashion designer who graduated from Baton Rouge High School in 2012, designed the purple outfit for Vice President Kamala Harris, who wore on Wednesday, January 20th, as both her and President Joe Biden were sworn into office. It's a great accomplishment when our students are doing great things in the world. Last, the Fine Arts Department hosted professional development in January 2021 for the East Baton Rouge Parish Public Schools Band and Orchestra. LSU music professor Dr. Kelvin Jones, Southern University music professor Mr. Kedrick Taylor, and UL Lafayette music professor Miss Molly Godforth held respective professional development sessions. For our band and faculty, Dr. Jones and Mr. Taylor discussed the various educational levels and the musical needs and expectations of teachers when students matriculate from level to level. Mr. Godforth led the East Baton Rouge Parish Public Schools Orchestra faculty and suggestions on improving orchestra pedagogy throughout the district. And this was the first time we've had the honor to have the talents of these directors to collaborate with our teachers. And we were pretty excited about that. That's the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Narcisse. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, we'll move to item H1, board appointees for community agencies. Any reports from board appointees? Ms. Dyson.
Yes, I just wanted to report out that I have recently accepted the invite to be a part of Junior Achievements Board of Directors, and we met today. And I wanted to share information that we are looking for volunteers to lead sessions in our schools, but have moved to a virtual format for that. And I will be sending out information to our staff so that that can be shared. As many of you in all different departments and all of our staff may want to consider doing this virtually. We have some real need for, I believe that it's Dufrock and Park Elementary. Both didn't have, they were, I think, scheduled for right when the COVID pandemic started and were missed in the last cycle. And so it's real important that we try to get that program working in those two schools specifically. So I'll be sending out some information so that some may volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dyson. Any other reports? Seeing or hearing none, we will move now to the consent agenda. Mr. Ballou.
The following items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered as an item on the regular agenda for a separate vote preceding the last item on the regular agenda. Item number 2, grants. Consideration of a request for approval of the following grants. A, Albertsons Nourishing Neighbors Grant in the amount of $25,000 to feed local families in need during this crisis. B, T-Mobile Project, $10 million, not $10 million, in the amount of $1,247,500 to award families hotspot devices and connectivity for 1 year. Item number 3, professional services contract. Consideration of a request for the approval of a contract between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and Louisiana Business Incorporated Professional Educators Leadership Academy in the amount of $66,000 for professional development. The funding source is Title II. Item 4, consideration of a request for the approval of the contracts between East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and the following charter schools. A, Inspire Charter School, January 2021 through June 2021. Inspire Charter School, July 2021 through June 2024. C, Community School for Apprentice Learning, CSAL Middle School for 2016. D, Community School for Apprentice Learning, CSAL Elementary School, July 2021. Now, item 5, Consideration of a request for the authorization for staff to advertise, accept the low bids, meeting specifications, and make the award of a contract for construction of University Terrace Buchanan Elementary School, a new school, as specified in the A plan to improve facilities, technology, discipline, and compensation in the East Baton Rouge Parish School System, known as the Plan, as revised through February 22nd, 2018, or reject any and all bids for just cause in accordance with the Louisiana Public Bid Law, Louisiana Revised Statute, Title 38, Chapter 10. Item number 6, consideration of a request for the approval of the following policies: BCAD, teleconference, remote participation in school board meetings; GBRIB, sick leave; and GBRIBC, COVID-19 emergency leave. Item number 7, ITEP guidelines. Consideration of a request for approval of the revised industrial tax exemption program guidelines. Item number 8, consideration of a request for the approval of the recommendation from Gwen Shamlin, General Counsel, East Baton Rouge Parish School Board, in the matter of Blake Wingate versus Ortemisha Montgomery, East Baton Rouge Parish School System, and Berkeley Insurance, suit number 640387, Section 26, 19th Judicial District Court, Parish of East Baton Rouge, and to provide for related matters. Mr. President, I so move.
Moved by the consent agenda, moved by Mr. Ballou, seconded by Mr. Goday. Is there anyone who wishes to pull an item from the consent agenda? Are there any comments from the board on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we go to the public. Are there any, oh, I'm sorry. It didn't come up. Some of them, I don't think it's come, everybody's coming up, but if you want to speak, Ms. Ware-Jackson? Oh, look, there you are.
Yes, I would like to have Mr. Shamlin just review the, you know what I'm going to ask you, Mr. Shamlin, the policies.
2 policies?
Yes, sir.
I should be prepared for you at this point,
You know
Ms.
I'm going to ask
Ware-Jackson.
that every time. So,
No problem.
So our viewing audience will have a clear understanding of what we're doing policy-wise.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
The 2 policies for consideration by the board. Policy BCAD is a teleconference remote participation in school board meetings policy. Policy GBRIB is some amendments to our current sick leave policy. The first policy takes into account new law that allows for virtual board meetings under certain conditions. One of those conditions is the issuance of an emergency order by the governor. This is specifically related to and in response to the pandemic. And so this will align our policy with allowing for virtual meetings under certain conditions and when certain steps have been taken. The second is an amendment to sick leave policy with recommendations made by the HR department. And that's primarily to basically specify and align requirements as to what documentation can be submitted for leave, as well as allowing for certain additional healthcare providers to provide that documentation to patients and to employees of the system. And so these are basically changes that will align policy with state law and also streamline procedures.
Thank you, sir.
That's it. Thank you, Ms. Ware-Jackson. Any other comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, for the time being, comments from the audience. Anybody wish to comment on the consent agenda from the audience? Seeing no apparent movement, we'll come back to the board.
Board President Tapman, one addition I did forget, it was actually 3 policies. The board secretary just showed me the third. It was added at the last minute before the cow. It is actually a GBRIC policy, emergency COVID-19 policy. And what our board has elected to do is extend COVID leave for employees for an additional 3 months, and that's to protect employees as we move through the pandemic. I apologize, that policy was a separate memo from the previous 2, so I overlooked it.
Thank you, Mr. Shamlin. Any questions from the board? Mr. Howard?
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Tammy. Mr. Shamlin, I just want to make sure that we were able to make that policy retroactive so that if any COVID situations occur prior to the policy being voted on, that employees can still benefit from the new resource.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Howard, for that reminder. The federal allowances expired December 31st of 2020. This policy is retroactive to January 1 of this year, which protects employees.
Great, thank you. Any other comments from the board? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please take the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
The motion carries. We move now to item J1, request for proposals for voice over IP services, consideration of a request for the authorization for staff to issue a request for proposals, to seek proposals, and to provide voice over IP phone services to the district. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Howard, seconded by Ms. Bernard. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we go to the audience. Any comments from the audience? Seeing none, back to the board. Madam Secretary, please take the vote.
Please vote.
Who are you missing, Madam Secretary?
Ms. Ward Jackson.
You can only vote once.
The motion carries.
Motion carries. We move now to item J2, contract Helix Mentorship STEAM Academy, consideration of a request for the approval of the contract between the East Baton Rouge Parish School Board and the Helix Mentorship STEAM Academy. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Howard. Seconded by Mr. Ballou. Dawn, Ms. Collins, are you up? Was that from you?
Request to speak.
Yeah, Ms. Collins, you're up.
Okay, thank you. While I will be voting to approve this contract because it's a charter that was approved by the board, I just want to lift up as we move forward in the future, and not to take away from the charter, not to take away from Helix Academy, but as we move forward in the future and consider additional charters that may come up, that we be mindful of what we currently have in the district and that we don't approve things that compete with our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Mr. Goday.
Yes, I would just like to ask Mr. Shamlin if he could just talk to us very quickly about the adherence of this contract to our policies and our template that we've put together for charter schools. I've read through it, but I would just like to hear you talk about it.
Yeah, the contract, I'm sorry. This contract adheres to policy closely, actually exactly, with the exception of the term. The school was actually approved for renewal back in 2017 for a 5-year term of 2018 to 2023. I believe. I have to look back at the contract. So everything here matches the policy with the exception of the term. The school was approved prior to the enactment of district policy. And so it follows policy. The school will be held to the same accountability standards as all of the charters. There's just, the term is a little different because of when it was actually renewed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Goday. Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll go to the audience. Are there any comments from the audience on this agenda item? Seeing none, we are back to the board. Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote. The motion carries.
The motion carries. Thank you. We move now to item number 3, job positions and descriptions. Consideration for request for approval of the following job positions and descriptions: administrative assistant to the chief, administrative assistant to the deputy chief, chief academic officer, chief of board and governmental relations, chief of communications and family engagement, chief of equity and diversity officer, chief of literacy, chief of schools, chief of staff, chief of workforce development. Kay just says chief. Chief. Coordinator of Strategic Talent Support Programs, Coordinator of Talent Development Programs. I should be given the letters N, Deputy Chief. O, Deputy Chief for Curriculum Instructions. P, Deputy Chief for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support. Q, Deputy Chief of Business Operations. R, Deputy Chief of Federal Programs. S, Deputy Chief of Special Projects. T, Deputy Chief of Student Support Programs. U, Deputy Chief of Talent and People Operations. V, Executive Director for School Leadership. W, Parent Liaison. X, Virtual Teacher, Regular, and SPED. I would like to let the Superintendent, Dr. Narcisse, discuss this a little bit for us. So will you weigh in here, Dr. Narcisse?
Yes, thank you, President Tapman. I'd actually like to amend the job description request. First, I wanted to say, before I begin, I just want to say thank you, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you for my first official board meeting as your superintendent. And I thank you for the consideration of the following. My goal is to make sure that the district is first and foremost structured to meet the needs of students and families. The proposed positions that I'm going to request, while is going to be budget neutral, we must begin the work of transforming the district into one that focuses on students first, provides supports and recognizes educators for professionals that they are, and is responsive to the needs of our community. They provide strategic and operational leadership to the company. They set the goals, develop strategy, ensure that the organization is effectively executing. So just a couple of things I wanted to just share before I make the proposal of the positions to amend. It's clear to me that this board cares about addressing equity, and I want to commend you for the actions you've already taken by adopting an equity policy. I want to continue to model that by eliminating the gender pay gaps that currently exist within our own system without increasing the budget. When we dug in, we found that on average, females at the senior cabinet level made 84 cents on the dollar to their male counterparts. That's why we started to make some decisions to look at what were some of the challenges. But I understand that just starting, it's important to just be able to get the groundwork and then work with the board as we think through what our current structure will be. And so I'm only proposing for 4 positions at this time for their job descriptions. Number 1 is a chief academic officer. In my conversation this week and digging into the data, it's clear that families in the district are really interested in high quality schools in their neighborhoods. The chief academic officer will be responsible for driving academic goals and outcomes for students. By bringing that work under one umbrella, I feel we'll be better able to address the needs of students in the district. And so the chief academic officer will work to increase the academic growth of our students, working with teachers and ensuring that we are providing high quality curriculum and programming to our students, and also necessary to ensuring that the future success of our students and the Baton Rouge community. The next position I'd like to propose is also a chief of schools. In looking at our student data, it's clear to me that there are some massive equity gaps, which is why we are proposing to create a position of chief of schools. where the chief of schools will be responsible for all of the leadership in the schools. As you know, there has been a lot of engagement, even in engaging with some of the principals, just around the type of leadership capacity that's needed. And so the chief of schools will be responsible for not only all of the schools with principal supervisors holding accountability and support, but also making sure that they're creating conditions for schools to school leaders to work better with their staff to make sure that we have high accountability, but also high support in those schools. And so I'm primarily making that request. The third proposal that I'm making is for the chief of operations. In my conversations with internal staff and also listening to operations from schools and just some of the visits and conversations, there's been a lot of concern expressed about the health and safety of teachers in the classroom, cleaning protocols, and also a lot of the COVID challenges that we're having. So I'm proposing to create a position of Chief Operation Officer to ensure that we are streamlining for efficiencies in the organization. It makes sense to try to centralize and streamline those efficiencies so we can provide better service to schools and staff. And the last position that I'm proposing is a Chief of Staff. The Chief of Staff position allows us to work with the board and execute on the projects internally and externally. As you know, that we are, our goal is to drive towards a strategic plan, and we need a chief of staff to help us to execute that and work in collaboration with the board as we engage to execute on creating key performance indicators, as well as execution of projects in the organization where we have some gaps. And so those are the 4 positions that I'm proposing as an amendment.
You have a motion.
I move,
Can't hear you.
I move on the item.
Can you read the motion, please?
Motion to approve the following job descriptions: Chief Academic Officer, Chief of Schools, Chief of Staff, and exclude the option to work virtually or remotely from each description. Also mentioned was Chief of Operations, and I just need some clarity whether to include this in this motion.
Yes, ma'am. I think, I'll jump in, Dr. Narcisse. I think the Chief of Operations is actually Chief of Business Operations, but I'll let Dr. Narcisse speak to that to clarify.
It should say Chief Operating Officer. That was the title that we put in with the job description. If I can get, is Daphne, are you there? Just for clarification.
She is coming to the mic, Dr. Narcisse.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. It was actually a misprint with the computer download, so I do apologize. So it is actually the Chief Business Operations. It actually should be the Chief Operating Officer position.
Could you tell us which letter it is on the agenda, please?
So Chief Academic Officer is C.
I'm talking about the Chief Operating Officer or Chief of Operations.
So the misprint is actually the P. It says Deputy Chief of Business Operations. That actually should be Chief of Operations, Chief Operations Officer.
So when we look at those job descriptions
yes,
on board docs?
Is incorrect. All of them are correct. That one was actually a misprint of the download, bunch of them that I did, so I do apologize.
So the description is incorrect on?
Yeah, it's not correct. So what we did is we did a conversion of a current position and changed the title.
So my thought, Mr. Shamlin, since it's not on board docs for that description, do we need to must we put that one to a special meeting at the committee of the whole, since we don't have
That
a
is at
job
the-
description?
That's at the choice of the board, leisure of the board.
Okay. So, I guess I'd like to hear from you, Dr. Narcisse, and from any board colleagues on this, because I can do it either way. My motion could include it, or my motion could include the language that it would be at a special meeting at our February COW. So I'd like it to get some feedback on this.
So, Ms. Dyson,
I
Yeah,
like
go right ahead.
oh, no, I was just gonna say that I think that that's the proper move to make sure that we have the right information out, and so if we can approve the three that was I think that's the correct move. If we could just approve the three that were recommended by the superintendent, or put them up for approval, and then just utilize the special meeting right before COW to approve the one position with the correct information out, to avoid any confusion or, anything, so if that's.
So you're doing the three and you're seconding the
Yeah.
motion?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Or you?
So is that amenable to everyone? I really just am asking for a consensus
Yeah,
on
well,
this one.
we'll get to that as the discussion ensues.
Okay.
I lost my place. Is Dawn next or Mike?
I'm sorry, my system's.
Ask him.
I think I'll just do this. Ms. Collins?
I just wanted to get more information. I appreciate the superintendent lifting up some concerns. And myself, I've been a fighter for women's pay equity and the Equal Rights Amendment for over a decade at the Capitol and with local government. And so it would be troublesome to me to see if there is something going on right here under our noses. Can I get a spreadsheet of the data that was used to come up with those figures? I would greatly appreciate that, to look inside the district and see what's going on. I'm glad that we did also go back to a pay scale. About a year or two ago, at the request of staff, wanting to make sure that the pay scale was being fair and equitable. And usually pay scales in government agencies help to alleviate that sort of thing. That's why you don't, for example, see that type of thing in state government quite as much. And so I look forward to getting the information that we have here in this district. Thank you.
Dr. Narcisse, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, thank you, Board Member Collins. I totally agree with you 100%. As I engaged with the HR department and I looked across as we were thinking about the type of shifts that we should make, that was clear to me when we looked at that data. So we will definitely provide that to you. I will have Daphne and team bring that to you so you can see that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Thank you, Dr. Narcisse. Mr. Goday?
Yes, thank you, President Tapman. First of all, for Ms. Donaldson, I think, I got a little bit confused. So you said that the Deputy Chief of Business Operations job description in here was a misprint and should have read Chief of Operations?
It was a misprint in I did a bunch of them, so I've worked on quite a few.
That's fine. I'm
and so
just
I do
trying.
apologize, yes, sir.
So in the Deputy Chief of Operations, we do have all of the information that would be there for the Chief of Operations.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
It'd just be a mix in the changing of the titles
Right.
and the structure.
Okay. And so I guess the reason I'm asking that is I believe that is one of the very important positions in the staff, and I would not like to see us delay for several weeks having someone being able to fill that position. It is critical, and I do think we need to start consolidating work under that for a typo or a download error. Since all of the information is there, except just the title is wrong, I think it would be appropriate for us to consider the job description. I have some other comments. You know, we've gotten a lot of comments coming in on these raft of job descriptions, and I just want to reiterate several things that Dr. Narcisse said. First of all, contrary to lots of the stuff I've seen floating around on Facebook and in emails and everywhere else, this was set up to be budget neutral. So and this is not 20-something new positions where new people coming from outside of the district. Most of these positions are changes in positions for people who are already here. So a lot of people saw this and I guess let their imagination go. And this is not a bust the budget. This is not a bring in a horde of people from the outside. We have been doing a lot of things over the past years, but we have been making progress, but progress at a very slow state. And, you know, I can see in some ways that Dr. Narcisse is impatient to get on with the work, but quite honestly, I'm impatient too. We're failing our children by not moving faster. And so while we're going to cut this back to these numbers of changes here, I also want to challenge us that we really, if we're going to give him the responsibility to do this, and we really say we want to make changes in how we do it, because if I look since I've been on the board, we really haven't changed what we've done. We've made a few changes we've made incremental changes. The Innovation Network is probably the biggest change that I can think of that we've done, that and the CTEC building and the program. And I think those are two wonderful programs, but those are two when we should have had 20. And so, you know, if you look through a lot of these things, you see a literacy thing. You know, you heard everyone around this room talking about how literacy at third grade is the key, okay? We need to focus on literacy. We need to focus on equity. We've already talked about the equity in pay, but there's lots of other equity issues and lots of things that go through policies, procedures, and all of these sorts of things that we need. We have divided our focus so much by having people such a broad spectrum of what they're doing, they haven't been able to really get the job done. And I'm not blaming any of the staff at all. I think that's part of the organizational structure that we had. So I fully applaud Dr. Narcisse for pulling this together. And I hope that we can digest this quickly and then give him the team he needs to move forward. And lastly, I'd like to say that I've heard a lot of people talking about the budget. Again, we said this was going to be budget neutral, and it is going to be budget neutral, and we're going to work through that because I think there are efficiencies and things. And again, most of these people already have jobs in the district, so they'll just be reshuffling. But I want to bring everyone's mind back to 3 years ago when this board was presented with a $27 million deficit budget. And I did not see a single person up here, or I don't remember a single person, I might be wrong, complaining about that level of deficit spending. And the reason they weren't complaining about that deficit spending, it was because the deficit spending was keeping everybody happy and keeping the jobs where they were, even though it was unfair to the children. And so I have, going through all of this and going through the process with Dr. Narcisse, you know, he's made two commitments. One, that these changes would be budget neutral, and then secondly, he was going to present balanced budgets going forward. So I think we need, as a board and as a community, give our system a chance to be able to adopt some of these changes and do some things differently. If we keep doing exactly the same thing we've been doing and maintain status quo, we're not going to move forward at the pace we need to move forward with. We may move forward, but our kids deserve better and they deserve faster. So with that, Dr. Narcisse, I applaud you for bringing up this slate. I'm really a little bit disappointed that we can't go ahead and approve the whole thing, but I understand why. I understand completely why, but I applaud you for bringing this forward, and I'd much rather have someone tell someone, no, you're being too aggressive, we need to slow down a little bit, instead of having to say, where's the progress, where are the things we're doing. So with that, thank you, Dr. Narcisse, and I strongly support this, and I would like to make a substitute motion to include the Chief of Operations. You can't do that, you made the motion. I can make a friendly motion to include the Chief of Operations, since all of the information is here, it's just a title mistake.
Does the mover and the second agree to that?
I have one question. Because it's just a title incorrect here and needs to be Chief Operations Officer, is what you told us. But in looking, the job description itself is for the Deputy Chief of Business Operations on board docs. So I'm asking General Counsel, can we approve that position with the caveat that that will be this evening added onto board docs correctly?
May I amend my substitute motion or my friendly amendment? I would like to approve the Deputy Chief of Business Operations to be amended to read Chief of Operations and let that be so we can make the motion to amend the title.
So that is the amendment to your friendly amendment to the original motion.
Isn't it fun being president?
Yeah. It's okay, I got it.
I accept that as a friendly, and it can remain in my motion and be called Chief of Operations.
Okay. Mr. Howard, do you accept that?
Yes, I accept it. I just was, I needed clarity on, because there was two different things said, so I needed to make sure that we were on the same page, which is why I accepted the amendment. So yes, I do accept the friendly amendment.
And I just would request that it be on board docs for public.
Well, while we're waiting on that, now that we have an amended motion, I will go to Ms. Bernard. I had two Ms. Collins, so, yeah, and if she wants, she'll be after Darius.
Thank you, President Tatman. Mr. Goday and I talked yesterday morning, just around 11 or 11:30, and I sent him a text message with some information that I needed in order to make this decision tonight. And he sent an email to Dr. Narcisse at 1:07 p.m. with the things that I needed. And I didn't ever get any of those questions answered. It's customary, Dr. Narcisse, that we provide the information that board members are asking for when they need it to analyze it, to sort of assimilate it, and maybe ask additional questions. But since I wasn't provided with that information in advance, I'm going to ask it now. But first of all, I did receive part of the information that some people asked for tonight. I think Mr. Lannis was able to get some information that other people sent an email yesterday. There were several board members who asked for the org chart, which we don't have. But Mr. Lannis was gracious enough to get from someone in the administration somehow the previous org charts. So I guess maybe the email was missed or something, Dr. Narcisse. But do you have that email in front of you? I'm asking for the org chart because in the interest of transparency, I think the public wants to see it, and it helps me to analyze the appropriateness of the positions and just to have a bigger picture. I don't like that we're being asked only to vote for 4 of the positions that were originally 24 positions. And so now we're slipping 4 through tonight. I guess the rest will come at the committee of the whole or something.
Yes, Ms. Board Member Bernard, first just wanted to apologize. We did not get you that information. I thought that we were able to get that, but I will follow up with staff around that. So I wanted to apologize for that. In terms of the org chart, are you talking about the current existing org chart or what we're thinking about as we're moving forward?
Both.
Yeah, so for the current board org chart, we can get that information to you right away. As for the new org chart that we're trying to work through, we decided to kind of pull back a little bit to kind of wait for the transition report to be able to do that. As you know, we're working on getting a transition report, which will go in, which we have folks hopefully starting the next week to be able to give the yourself as well as the community a report on how the operations of the organization is functioning. So we have not finalized those components. That's the reason why I've amended to pull back, because I've heard a lot of comments from the community and different folks. So I said, let me allow that to happen before we move forward. So we do not have it, is not a final thing to do. So I don't want to release something to misguide the public on.
Well, that would be good, not to misguide the public, certainly. I also asked how, I guess since we don't know now where the org chart is in flux, it's in flux, some of the positions are under consideration, or?
Everything is in draft form. I mean, right now, as we kind of thought through, I said, let us get a little bit more voices to hear from folks. And so that's the reason why I wanted to push towards the transition report, which there's a transition team that will come in next week to provide you with a much more detailed approach around what the organization should be. And then the board, as well as the community, can see, like, what would be the better next steps around that. But I do know right now, as I ended up engaging with senior staff, listening to some leaders and some folks, we do have to streamline support in central office for the office.
Yes. So the answer as to whether this is budget neutral or not can't really be answered tonight, because we're only adding 4 of these positions tonight, and we don't know how many more we're adding since that's now in flux.
That's correct. We don't know now because we want to wait until we actually get the transition report to be able to see what areas that we need to reorganize in order to submit that information.
I understand that. And then also, it's also important that we keep in mind as we move forward the 70-30 requirement, that 70% of the funding be allocated to the school level and only 30% can be spent on administrative. That's state law.
Yes, for general fund, that's correct.
Yes, that's right, for general fund. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Mr. Lannis.
Yes, thank you, President Tadman. It's great to have you back at the Hen.
Thank you.
First, let me address something, because my name was brought into something, and I definitely want to make sure we get something clarified. And April, our board secretary, can clarify. The information that was presented to each board member tonight, I pulled myself. The only thing that I asked for was that it be printed out, ready to go, so I can hand it to each board member by the time you get here. Nobody gave any information, nobody gave any directives, nothing came from our new superintendent. Our board secretary can clarify, and if anybody wants to check the emails, it happened at 1:32 p.m. today, and every document is on there. That's number one. Number two, I understand from our community there's a grave concern about the positions that we currently are seeing. And I promise you, I hear every single one of your voices, and I know that some people may feel like there is some shady business that may be going on because misinformation has gone out. So that's the reason why I want to pull several specific documents so we can go through all of them together, and anyone that is inside of the audience today, or tonight rather, who wants to see them after the board meeting, I have no problem going through them with you until you fully understand what it is that we're talking about. First, I pulled every single comprehensive annual financial report that has been documented and turned into the Louisiana State Auditor's office. That's dating all the way back from Superintendent Charlotte Placide, Superintendent Dilworth, Superintendent Taylor, as well as Superintendent Drake. What you will find is every single superintendent that was selected came in with their own transition and made their administration fit how things best work for them. That was under every single superintendent, and I'll go through each and every single one. One, I'm going backwards, by the way. Year one, when Superintendent Drake started, he started off with 5 chiefs and one deputy superintendent, which was Dr. Clayton. By the time of this administration ended, he had 5 chiefs, 3 associate supes, and 1 director of comms. His annual salary for his cabinet was about $1.7 million. The year before that, it was $1.8 million. Superintendent Taylor, his final year, he ended with 4 chiefs and 4 associate superintendents at $1.7 million. All of this information is documented, has been turned in. Superintendent Dilworth, he ended his administration with 5 chiefs, 5 associate superintendents, and 10 directors at a cost of about $1.8 million. for Ms. Charlotte Placide. She ended her administration with 4 chiefs and 7 associate superintendents. Now, there is no price on that because I could not find the annual report for her. But there was the comprehensive financial report, which outlined exactly how many chiefs and how many associate supes that she did have. Now, I know some may be looking at Superintendent Narcise's positions and thinking that's a lot more, but this is the difference. You have 9 chiefs and 6 deputies, but some of these positions are not new. Some of these positions, as board member or my board colleague, Mr. Gode pointed out, are just being reshifted and restructured. Now, some positions are being brought in, but the catch is that they're budget neutral. When you add up his total cost for deputy chiefs and chiefs, it comes out to be $1,880,000. If you broke it down with just chiefs alone, that's $1,400,000. When you include deputy chiefs, that's $840,000 collectively. That's $1,880,000. That is literally right on par with every single superintendent that came before him. Now, it's easy to believe misinformation when you don't have this documentation in front of you, but I can assure you all of this stuff has been turned in, and it is public record. Anybody can go and find it. And as I said before, I have no problem staying after this meeting to discuss it and going in full detail with anyone. I just don't want us to walk out of this meeting tonight feeling like some bad thing has happened. Somebody's trying to dupe the system. Somebody's trying to bring all these people in and get rid of people's jobs, because that is not the case. I promise everyone it is not the case. And if some people could just talk to the board members and really sit down and get the information, I can guarantee you we can move forward. Because my sentiments are just like yours again, Mr. Gode. I don't like staggered progress when we could be moving right now, moving the needle for our students. But because we have misinformation, we have to now slow this process down. But I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lannis. Ms. Collins.
Okay. I think that perhaps we off to a rocky start for no reason. And perhaps it's a mere indication of the newness of relationships being built. Not one board member, to my knowledge, at least not tonight, has said that the superintendent cannot have his own cabinet. No one said that. No one is opposed to change, but as a board, we do have a legal fiscal responsibility. We do have a responsibility to make sure our policy, our HR policy and those positions are decent and in order. And we need more than 1 or 2 days to review 24 or short changes. It is, and I don't say this with disdain, sincerely, it is the superintendent's duty to present this type of information in a timely manner and in a format that can be, that in an efficient, effective format, so that people can understand that when we say budget neutral and they do more, and they look at only job titles and job descriptions, and we don't have information before us to see and process how 24 changes are budget neutral, then people get alarmed. Because while no one has said that they are against change, people still have to be able to process change, okay? And we can't just think people are gonna swallow it up with a new relationship that they have to get familiar with, and in this particular case, learn to trust, okay? So I don't necessarily think we'll have this problem moving forward, because again, this is a matter of folks learning how to communicate more effectively with each other, because again, these are all new relationships. I personally appreciate that we are digesting this information, and we are also, as Superintendent Narcisse said, that he is cognizant and aware of community concern. And so he's doing due diligence and going to get more feedback and then even reconsider some things about what he's proposing. So I appreciate his responsiveness. But I also just would like to offer that maybe we don't necessarily need to be so upset with one another. I think we have come towards some initial growing pains because again, it's a new relationship and it's, different boards have a different way of communicating, different communities have a different way they want to see information. And so I believe that we'll be able to move forward and not have the tension in the room that currently is. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Ms. Thiason.
I just want to make sure that the wording in this is correct. The exact title should read Chief Operations Officer, not Chief of Operations. Chief Operations Officer, to make sure that that is the correct language in my motion.
I'll defer to Superintendent Narcisse to make sure that that's accurate.
Thank you, Board. That's correct.
That's, I'm sorry, Dr. Narcisse, I didn't hear you. Did you confirm that's correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
Any
I
other?
also, I'm sorry, and I also wanted to say that I am very supportive of these positions and ready to get started as well. I, though, appreciate that we will be involved in planning around the information that we receive in the transition and the audit that I understand is going to happen very, very quickly, and that this should be able to come back in this manner or in some edited version. And I appreciate the opportunity that we're going to be able to this board can be in the process of deciding our priorities and our goals and which positions are best to support those in a neutral budget way. So thank you so much for bringing all of this to us, Dr. Narcisse, and I'm glad that we got to where we are. I think everybody should be able to agree to this amended motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dyson. Ms. Bernard.
Thank you, Dr. Narcisse, for bringing this to us tonight. I will be able to support it when we have all of the information. So I won't be able to support it tonight with just the 4 positions, but if I have a bigger, more comprehensive picture and the budgetary impact, which is very important to me. I realize that these 4 positions are important, and I believe that other board members will support it, but I want the whole thing. I need to see the big picture and the budgetary impacts before I can sort it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bernard. Mr. Goday. Pass. Okay, seeing any other comments from the board? Seeing none, we now go to the audience on the motion before us.
Hello, Valencia Johnson, President of the East Baton Rouge Parish Association of Educators. I have President Mills and I have Executive Director Carter with me. I would like to welcome the new superintendent at this time. I also want to congratulate the new president and vice president on their new position. And although Dr. Narcisse has amended his positions, I implore the board to wait until the documents have all been received in order to have a full aspect of what is going on in the district before you vote for these positions tonight. As the union representative, our educators have been working tirelessly. And although we know that we have some growing to do, we have never stopped giving our best to our children. So we have criteria that we are held accountable to. And I think that it would behoove you to make sure that you keep in mind your fiduciary responsibility as a board, and make sure that you're good stewards over our resources, and make sure that you have looked at all that you need to. We use data every day. We need to make sure that we have the data. We need to make sure that we are looking at every situation. And I would say, please wait and hold off before you make that decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. Dr. Tim Mills, President of the Louisiana Association of Educators. Congratulations again to Dr. Narcisse. Congratulations to the new leadership on the board. Dr. Tapman, Mr. Tapman, you're back in a position that you were once in, so looks good on you. Congratulations. I know you'll serve well. Just as our president of East Baton Rouge Parish Association of Educators mentioned, as a board, it is your fiduciary responsibility to ensure that the best interest of the children and this district are placed into account when you make these decisions. It's very unfortunate that we did not have the opportunity to review any type of new organizational structure, any documents. The rhetoric and the narrative was placed out there because there was no transparency. And that's all that we asked for. We're asking for transparency and that we have a seat at the table. We're not going to know unless we are informed as well. And if we're not informed, then guess what? There are going to be different narratives and different things that are going to be said. So that's what we're asking for tonight. And then we're asking that when you go to bed tonight, that you keep that in mind, because every decision that you make has a detrimental impact on the future of this district. I love this district. I'm from this district. It's what I do, educate and love the children of this district and this state. And so just keep all of that into account when you make the decisions that you make. There are some employees out there who are, in fact, very upset because all around us, in Zachary, in Iberville, in Ascension, all of these different districts, guess what? They received a Christmas bonus. These employees did not. So to them, that was like a slap in the face. You have to be mindful of that. They work hard. Some of them are not only teaching virtually, but they're teaching in person as well. We have done more during this pandemic than we ever have as educators, but that's what we do. We rise to the occasion because that's what we do. We are also researchers. So before Dr. Narcisse came, we did as much collective research as possible on the decision. And so moving forward, we're going to continue to do that. And so again, that's all we ask for. Bring us to the table, allow us to have some input, so guess what? We can work together to come to a collective decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mills.
Dr. Craig Carter, as President Johnson said, I'm the Executive Director for the state of Louisiana for the Louisiana Association of Educators. I know most of you school board members, and want to thank you this evening for what you have to do. Many people don't realize what school board members have to put up with sometimes, hearing not only from the community but constituents, but that's important because that's why you were voted into that position, to represent your constituents, the people from your community, for ultimately student learning and student achievement. Not only am I the executive director, but I'm a former teacher of the year and a national board certified teacher. I'm here supporting the East Baton Rouge Parish Association of Educators. This morning I knew something was up because when I came into my office a little bit before 8 o'clock, my membership department ran to me and they said, Dr. Carter, something's going on over there in East Baton Rouge. We got members calling left and right, here's a list. So I started calling and I had folks saying, I'm a clerk, I'm a secretary, I'm a teacher, and I haven't received a pay raise in 10 years. And we have a new superintendent just come in, and just like you said, Mr. Lannis, miscommunication left and right. But I think that's the problem. That's the issue I'd like to speak about tonight. And I'd like to congratulate the new superintendent, Dr. Narcisse. I think you had a call today after the fact we did, and the state president and President Johnson were able to talk with him. And it takes that kind of communication, but it takes it way early on. The National Education Association, which is our father and our mother organization, the largest union and professional association in the nation, made up of 3.8 million members, released a report. And it's the 5 common mistakes that new superintendents can make. And I'd like to share it with you tonight. The first mistake is not building enough support. Before you make any drastic changes, you have to come in, you have to research, you have to listen, you have to evaluate, and then you can make appropriate changes. One challenge that every new superintendent faces is gaining buy-in from the community and the employees. And I think a new superintendent coming in, it takes that buy-in, and just like Mr. Lannis said, it takes that open communication and some of the rest of you in order to get the buy-in from your employees, from your community, from your parents and support to know that this is a mix-up or this is not correct. This is the communication. This lady should have a seat at every single table in any change that is coming in into this parish, into this school community, because she can take that and convey it back to one of our largest local associations, which is the East Baton Rouge Parish Association of Educators, so that that support can happen from the bottom up and from the top down. So please keep that in mind. The second thing and mistake is moving too quickly, which I think could be happening tonight. Mistake number 3, not asking the right questions. And I think that's important. And mistake number 4, not having a plan. And mistake 5, sticking to the status quo.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Thank you. Just to kind of reiterate before you start the clock, when you go to the clock, I know you have a number pad there, but when it's green, it starts your 3 minutes. When the yellow light goes off, you have a minute left. And then when the red light goes off, fireworks go off.
I ain't good at this. This is Venmo, and this is Miss Storm Matthews. She has to stay home because she has a heart condition or whatever.
Okay. Well, you can start the clock. Go ahead.
She wanted me to turn it up so she could speak.
Just to kind of reiterate before you start the clock, go to the clock at the over pad there.
We're a little slow on satellite, I guess, right?
Yellow light goes off, you have a minute left, and then when the red light goes off,
You
fireworks
start
go
it
off.
when she talks.
Thank goodness. This is Venmo. This is Miss Storm Matthews. She has to stay home because she has a heart condition, whatever.
Well, you can start the clock. Go ahead.
She wanted me to turn it up so she could speak.
Put it to the microphone. Before you start the clock. Hello, members of the board. This is Storm Matthews. Can you hear me? Red light goes off. Fireworks go off.
Yes, but on a 6-second delay.
Okay. I first would like to say comments should be read online. I shouldn't have to go through all of this foolishness. This is an ADA violation. Secondly, absolutely, we need a chief academic officer. I 100% agree with that, considering Superintendent Narcisse does not have the minimum years experience needed. As far as the chief of schools, when I looked over the job position requirements, it says being a teacher or an administrator is preferred. How is that even possible that it is not required that the person that's going to be over all of the principals had never been a teacher or a principal? That is absolutely absurd. That would be like somebody walking in off the street and coming in and being a superintendent. That's absurd. The person who is going to be over every single principal needs to have served in that position. I have never been principal. I know about everything that goes on in this district, but I have never been principal, and I would never tell a principal how to do so. That is not my position. Thirdly, Mr. I wanted to ask what your definition of the hoard is, because I'm a little confused on that, because When we look at all of these positions, yeah, it's only 4 tonight, but these other 20 is still coming. And some of those positions are more than just one. It's one position, but there's gonna be 9 people up in them. We don't have the money. We haven't had a raise. My kids still qualify for Medicaid, and I've been teaching for 15 years. We ain't got no money. None at all. This is not Washington, D.C., which is one of the best funded districts in the nation. This is one of the most poorly funded districts in the nation. Also, we get federal funds, state funds, and general funds. I would like to know which of these funds will be funding all of this. This is not cost neutral. And Mr. Lannis, I do want to thank you for putting out there about all of these other superintendents, because most of those superintendents are the problem that have caused this to this parish, because this parish was not always a bad parish. These schools used to do good. These schools used to be good. We have great teachers, but because we are so top heavy at central office already is why we are failing our students now, and we do not need to add 24 other positions. And also, why is virtual teacher on there? Baby, I've been virtual teaching since August. Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews.
Mr. Tapman, I'd like to make a point.
Yeah,
ask a point of order.
point of order.
I do not want this to set a precedent that people can allow to be voiced
So-
in on that. So, Mr. Shamlin, you know, the law is perfectly clear about in-person things, and I understand this is a unique situation, but I do not want this to become a way.
So I have a little note at the bottom of my page to get with Gwen to check about how that fits under our rules, legal issues, and so on. So
Thank
I
you, sir.
appreciate you for bringing that up. I frankly did not know how to handle it, so I let it go as opposed to violating any law, but I would like, now that we've spoke about it, I can check that off my to-do list, but we need to visit about that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. I'm Angela Reams Brown, President of the East Baton Rouge Federation of Teachers and Support Workers, the largest teacher union here. I want to congratulate Mr. Narcisse, or Dr. Narcisse, on his new position. Congratulate the new president of the board and vice president, and wish you well this coming school year and next. I wanted to stand before you today and speak on the decision that you're about to make about these 4 positions minus the 20 that Dr. Narcisse has so abruptly taken off the table. I was invited to a meeting today with the superintendent last minute. I did not participate because I don't do business that way. I have a schedule that I follow, and so I need to make sure that what's happening, I know it in advance. But had I participated, I would have said to him at that point, I could not stand here and agree with 24 positions added to the central office while our teachers and support workers have not had a raise in years. If we have all of this money in the budget, and you're saying that these positions are budget neutral, then my question is, why haven't our teachers and support workers seen any of this money? Why is it that we found this money now that we have a new superintendent who wants to bring on his own crew? The other point I'd like to make clear is, I hear some of the board members saying that some of these positions already exist, we're just renaming them. You talk about transparency. You want us to take your word for it after what happened at the last board meeting? I don't think so. So if it is positions, or if there are positions that currently exist, I too would like to see an org chart that says that. That instead of this name, this is the new name, and this is the person that's in that position, and this is the amount of money that we're going to pay that person. We can't just talk about transparency. We have to show it. We can't talk about we doing what's best for the community and doing what's best for the boys and girls of this community. We have to show it. And until we can see that with our full board and our superintendent, we will not be able to support these kinds of decisions. Thank you and have a blessed night.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
everyone. My name is Maria Harmon. I'm one of the co-directors of Step Up Louisiana, and we do have a local parents union in Baton Rouge. And I was coming up here to really speak on their behalf, and also as a constituent and taxpayer in East Baton Rouge Parish. We're just gravely concerned about all of these additions to the central office. We want to see change, but there's a process to make sure we are really invoking effective change. Dr. Narcisse is new to this district. Welcome, Dr. Narcisse, as our new superintendent, but none of us know him. None of us do. And he's proposing a lot of changes where we're like, did you even take time to build with the community? Did you take time to do a full assessment of the community? Did you take a time to do a full audit of the central office to know what's needed and what needs to be changed? It's just gravely concerning. None of this was in full-blown engagement with the community. There should be steps to this and really in a populist way led by the district. This is how change is supposed to look. Right now, this is just looking like a cliche dictatorship. Trust us and take our word for it. I'm sorry, but we can't buy that. That is not transparency. And that is not what the voters of this school district and this parish have thought of when we casted our votes for you back in 2018. We're keeping that in mind in 2022. All the decisions that are made by this school board. And we're going to pay attention to how our district is impacted if you take our word for it or even listen to us and you go forward with this vote. How is this going to impact the budget? How is this going to impact teachers? Because as parents, we know when you do a massive reduction in force, how that impacts classrooms and how that impacts our students. Our students deserve to have highly qualified and certified teachers. Not teachers who are just coming in as long-term subs because you can't find qualified professionals to be in there permanently. We have to think about these things and how they have trickle-down effects on the general way. So please rethink this. Please take some time and go back to the drawing board. See about how we can insert community voice in an effective way that's fully transparent, where when people see names of positions on the board docs on an agenda, people can understand what that means. Because right now, one of these positions look like a duplicate position for a superintendent. And that absolutely makes no sense. We could be using our tax dollars in a more efficient way, because this is not it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sierra Hart. I currently serve as an 8th grade Louisiana history teacher, and I am also the Director of Organizing and Strategy for the South Louisiana Coalition for Education. Yesterday, the country moved forward in an attempt to reconcile so much damage that has been done. It is time for East Baton Rouge and the entire system to do the same. For 4 years, I have sat in these meetings as a member of SLICE, but also as an educator invested in the decisions that impact my kids. I have watched reactive decisions that do not push us forward, and it must end. I have watched when the room has been empty and when it has overflown. I have watched as board members have responded to issues of the community and when they have chosen to ignore it. Board members, Dr. Narcisse, his staff, and every member of this school district, all the work must be rooted in the success of the future of our students in EBR and their families. That is why we are all here, whether we agree with them all the time or not. So we must ask ourselves, how then, as a community, do we invest in shared accountability? The board, superintendent, educators, parents cannot work in silos. All working individually and not collectively does not lead to one mission nor one goal. What do we need to do to make sure that every student at EBR is learning effectively? How do we make sure that equity is at the forefront? It is time for us as a community to move forward and figure out what shared accountability looks like, whether it is contentious or not. We are not going to get along all the time. We must prioritize our students before anything else. That means taking a look at the plans and positions as they are presented over the next few months and make thorough assessments for how these decisions impact our students. We do not have time to waste, and today I have time to tell you why. I have students in East Baton Rouge that have been adversely impacted for years from all systems in this district: healthcare, judicial, and the school system. All systems. So this is personal for me. There needs to be a collective vision. We are in a pandemic. Students don't have access to digital equity. They are struggling to remain engaged. Parents are doing the best they can, and we as a system need to put people, programs, and dollars in place to support them. There must be community input when determining key performance indicators within the strategic plans that are presented that will increase positive outcomes for kids. Performance indicators that show what growth needs to take place, that places educators as experts, which is something that SLICE has advocated for since the very beginning of this entire process. Teachers need to be a part of every step of the way, so I hope that as positions and committees are formed by the new superintendent, that is taken as a priority. Not just holding board members accountable, not just holding the new superintendent accountable, but as community members, holding each other accountable to continue to be present every step of the way.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Appreciate your comments. Next.
Good evening. My name is Caleb Holmes. I'm an organizer with Step Up Louisiana. First, I would like to congratulate Dr. Narcisse on being the new superintendent. Congratulations, Mr. Tapman, on becoming the new president of the board. One of the things that we saw tonight that was reiterated multiple times over and over again is change. But I want to be very clear. Change has become more of a buzzword now in our discourse. Change for who? And change within context. Because our district does need some change. It needs to change for the children, for the educators, for the teachers of this parish, their labor, their time. They're the ones holding up East Baton Rouge school system. And frankly, it's not the ones in this room. You know, last week we had a performance from the member of District 2. I say that because this performance, this body language that we're all giving off, this arms folded, angry, dismissive of the concerns of the community, and then we like to feign and say that we're doing this for the children. Don't provide a performance, provide action, provide meaningful change for the children of this community, for the teachers themselves. This entire community came up here and just said, we are not understanding what is going on. We need more clarity. We need more time. So if we're going to change, we need to ask a very, very, very important question. Who are we changing for? Is it for them? Is it for the kids of this parish and all the public schools in this parish? I don't think so. Slow down, take accountability, listen to your constituents. You just ran roughshod over them last week. This is not an effective manner. This is not democracy. This out here, these people, that's the democracy. You have to uphold that. They did that in 2018 when they voted these members in. 2022 is a year from now. Remember that. Do not come up here and do performative measures. Performance measures. Actually take some accountability and listen to the constituents, those who are here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next.
Hello, I'm Sajada Mason. I'm a teacher. I'm fresh. This is my second year. My first year was interrupted by COVID. It's my second semester. And a lot of times when I come to these meetings, I like to just listen for the most part. But once again, I think I say the same thing. I wish there was more unity. I understand some of what the public was, discussing, and I have some of the same, I don't even want to say concern because it's just a question. And y'all don't verbally attack me all at once in there because I'm here, y'all. But I just challenge you guys that it's so funny because like some of the things that we are demanding. We're not even giving. We're not willing to give. That's what it looks like. So I just challenge each and every one of us to take a moment and think and reflect. These things that we're asking, are we willing to give? That I hear patience. Okay, we need more time. Are we willing to be patient? Are we willing to sit down and talk? And this is not to attack anyone, but just a few examples. There was an opportunity to sit at a meeting, regardless of what the things that we're used to doing. Why weren't we there? Why didn't you go? Because it didn't fit your schedule? It's not what you're used to doing? Okay, but is that the best for the students? Maybe that time could have been the very thing that could have encouraged him to say, you know what, I'm gonna pull this back. I'm not gonna think about this. And again, I wish that we can really, really watch our words and our delivery and come together and sit down and share these different differences and ideas and concerns and questions and comments and derive a solution that's better for the students. It doesn't have to come in a form of yelling, screaming, and I'm not just talking about the public, I'm talking about on either end. It doesn't have to come in a form of any like aggression, anger, fear, or whatever. And like I said, I always volunteer to sit down. Like, can we have a meeting where we all just sit down and just like list the pros and cons and like really talk? Where's that meeting? I love these, but where's that one? But yeah, let's remember to try to be as peaceful as possible, try to be as understanding as possible, because just like you can make your judgments about someone can do that to you, and that's not a good feeling. I hate that. You know, no one wants to be judged. So let's just take a chill pill, be a little bit more patient, and just be willing to give those things that we're asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mason. Next.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Pamela Domino, and I want you to know I'm the bottom of the totem pole. I'm what you call the support staff, but I'm in the data management section. And every time all these superintendents and they're rearranging all of these positions and they're saying it's not new, they just rearranging. Well, it's funny how the top could be arranged and promotion study going up, but your bottom people, it's not going anywhere. I've been with the system for 22 years. And I'm still looking for a raise that I have yet to see. And I've went on numerous of in-house positions and have got overlooked several times. Not just once, not just two, not just three. And it's funny how you go on an interview for a level up, and when your paperwork come back, you still at the same level. So I would like for everyone to start looking at your totem pole, because your bottom employees, which is your support staff, your paraprofessionals, your teacher's aide, however you want to call them, they're your founder, your foundation. Because I don't see you doing your own paperwork all the time. They're there. We are one of the departments that key in the school data, but yet we still get overlooked every time. I would want them to look closer at their support staff and move them up. We'll be working for the next 30 years of our lives to get where we are going. You said if we go to school to better ourselves, we did that. I've done it. You're looking at a person working in a position with a master's degree. When they say you need to be qualified, well, why are you looking over your qualified people in your support areas and not paying them? That's what I want to get y'all to understand. It takes the little ones to build up the big ones. All these chiefs, you need some Indians, right? Because half of the chief is not going to be the one just doing it. He's just dictating. So again, I need you to look at your support staff and uplift them. We work just as hard. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
Hi, how are you? My name is Brittany Jefferson. I'm a third grade math and science teacher. I'm a part of the Innovative Network. We work extremely hard, and on behalf of the teachers who are working in this pandemic, serving these children and their families, working 2 jobs, teaching not just virtually, but in-house. Since August, we've been teaching both. We started teaching virtually in April with a lack of resources. We are never asked our opinions, and our thoughts are consistently ignored. We are the ones in the trenches every day, risking our lives and our children's lives, while you have the advantage of choosing whether you'd like to attend virtually or be in the building. We are constantly inconsistent in our expectations for your teachers as well as your children. The students had to adjust from virtual to hybrid and then back virtual again, and now we're choosing. Some schools have the option of having their children in the virtual school for EBR, while other schools still have to teach 2 jobs at once. It took away, us constantly being inconsistent takes away from our instructional time, and our students, as well as the teachers, being expected to give these children a standardized test at the end of this year. That's not possible. They didn't have the foundational skills because they missed it last year, and now you're sending them to me in 3rd grade and expecting me to have them live up to those expectations. It's not fair, and you need to reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jefferson. Next.
Hi, my name is Okesha Morris. I am a 2nd grade teacher here in East Baton Rouge Parish at Park Elementary School. I proudly say where I work. But another thing that we need to think about, ladies and gentlemen, is problem solving. It's beneficial and almost necessary to use research to find out why these problems exist. And determining your own factors that are the blame for problems is very, very subjective. Let's find the real root of the problem by using that actual research. And I honestly don't see that happening. I really do not. We need to stop because we are not factoring in that at the end of this school year, how can we effectively say that our kids passed or failed? When in all actuality, they have had a lack of consistency, and this entire school year at that. You forced your teachers, all of us who teach in this district, to be innovative with that, and I'm gonna leave on that note.
Thank you. Ms. Morris, was it? Thank you, Ms. Morris. Appreciate it. You can't speak twice on the same agenda item.
I didn't speak, she did.
You gave your time. You ceded your time. Would you agree, counsel? Yeah.
That's agreed.
Well, you did. You introduced her, so that was your time. I'm not allowing you to speak again.
Okay, you'll see.
Sure.
Hi, team. I'm Dominique Dallas, the Executive Director of the South Louisiana Coalition for Education. And I just want to comment by saying that budget neutral means no impact on the budget. We are holding ourselves back from the change we want to see and make. And the win is in the progress and in the policy and the changes and then the going forward, the advancement, right? So this decision is viewed as either or, yes, no, and instead of holding the superintendent back from the change he is requesting to make the moves in the district for the kids, we need to hold ourselves accountable as a community and do the work, visit the budget, and come to budget meetings. This moment is an opportunity to accept the invitation to the table. Uplifting teachers and support staff is not independent or mutually exclusive from an alternative for the new changes. We can have both. We have to advocate for an equity-based budget. I recommend student-based budgeting. So let's hold ourselves accountable and form ourselves proactively every single time and not reactively. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay, or am I too muffled? Okay. I want to start off by introducing myself. My name is Dr. Neil EBR, and I run the Talented Theater program at McKinley High School. This is the first time in my career that I've come to a school board meeting to speak about an issue that I find concerning, specifically the expansions that are being proposed by incoming Superintendent Dr. Narcisse. Yeah. I am excited that we have selected a veteran education leader to take over our school system in this unprecedented time of crisis. But I worry when I look over the list of positions proposed by Dr. Narcisse that our school system isn't capable of this large of an overhaul of central office, especially when so many arts programs around the city are increasingly asked every year to do more with less. At every school in EBR, the arts have proven to be vital to our students' emotional and social learning during this pandemic. While I don't doubt that Superintendent Narcisse can do amazing things with a team of 26, I think now, change makers, my students don't need more leadership in the district office. My students need a stage. They need money for scripts. They need resources to be given to them that will let themselves be seen, let their voices be heard. Our students are begging for the chance to learn in buildings that aren't falling apart, in spaces set aside for arts classes that all too often are the main reason they wake up at 4:30 a.m. to ride a transfer bus to come to school in the first place. I'm very happy to hear that these positions are going to be revenue neutral. In the event that they aren't, I would like to point out that with the money assigned to even one full-time position like this, I could build my students the best performance space in EBR schools with lights that are capable of illuminating melanated skin. My colleagues in the visual arts could buy enough paint to beautify all of our campuses. Our music teachers could purchase the rights to amazing concerts and amazing songs. AV teachers to build new cameras to make content that lets our students' voices be heard. I'm not here asking for a handout. Rather, I just want to remind everyone, especially the people making decisions here today, that the money we spend each year does not exist without context. A budget isn't a spreadsheet. It's a promise to our students and our community about the type of community we intend to build each year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hebert.
Hello, once again. After last week, I was faced with the fact that I must be a vestige of a bygone era. When I teach my kids, apparently history is exactly what it is. I teach them the Constitution. This is 7th grade history, U.S. government. And it says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, that's better government. What you gave us last week was absolutely anything but. What you're putting in front of us today is absolute anything but that better government that I teach them. Not only that I teach them, that I raised my hand to serve and protect. And because of that promise, I limp for the rest of my life. I buried my friends for this promise. That's a better government. Y'all were put there for a reason, and you refuse to listen to the public. We don't trust you anymore. We're still here begging you, and you're not going to listen to us again, I guarantee it. Because I don't have $500,000 to hand your campaign so you can buy your next seat. I'm one voice, one parent. My child is important to me. Her education is important to me. I did not get into education to be rich or powerful. I'm not sitting on a board so I can look at being a state representative or a state senator someday. I'm in the classroom. Twice now they have offered me different jobs, different positions, and I've said no. I want to teach the traditional kids. I want the ESL kids. I want the ESS kids. I want the 504 kids. I want the ones with the low reading. I want them in my class. I want to do everything I can for them. Do the same. Just one time. That's all we're asking. I'm not a rich man. I didn't get into teaching to enrich myself or empower myself or to bring my friends around me. But I am smart enough to be able to look at an organizational chart when you have not provided for me. You say they're budget neutral. I have no problem with that if you prove it. Prove yourself, because we don't trust you anymore. Over 20 people stood here last week. Over 80-something were the comments that were read for Adam Smith, not Dr. Narcisse. Now, we win some, you lose some, that's fine. I have no problem going forward working with our new superintendent. You made that choice, regardless of what the people standing here wanted to tell you. They're telling you something again this week. One of these days, listen to us and give us the better government that we are demanding, that our forefathers died for, that my friends died for, that I live for the rest of my life because I believe in. My family, for over 200 years, every generation has served. We deserve better government, and we demand a better government. Give it to us on the local level. Listen to us for once. Don't do what is expedient for your political career and your aspirations. Do what is right for my child.
Thank you for your comments.
Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you hear me now? All right. I would like to first say to Dr. Narcisse, the old folks say that you jumping off on the wrong foot. I would like to tell you an old African proverb that asks, how are the children? Right now, the children are not okay because their parents are not okay. The children and the parents are not okay because their educators are not okay. The children, the parents, and the educators are not okay because the school board is not listening to them. When you continue to fall on deaf ears, that's when you get a revolution, a revolt. Have you started feeling the pressure? Because it's a revolution that is starting to occur right now in the city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We have a person that we are calling a superintendent that is legally not able to be a superintendent in the state of Louisiana. How can we call him that? The real superintendent will be the chief academic officer, whomever that person may be. But yet you want to pay someone who has already been documented of misappropriation federal funds. That is not possible, nor is it legal. And as I look at each and every last one of you, I've told you before about legal issues that you can face. Legal issues that I myself can personally bring against you because I have a child that is immunocompromised, and yet I dedicatedly come before you and speak. Because some people choose not to read my comments, which is a violation of American Disabilities Act and Robert Rules of Order that has been extended due to this global pandemic. I ask that you look back at that contract, and not only that you look back at that contract, but that you bring that contract before us, because there is no way on God's green earth that we can actually pay a fake superintendent and then pay our real superintendent and then pay 22 other positions that are created. In fact, the chief is supposed to be the one that's gonna actually sit before you on the board. Did you read that in that job description? I guess you didn't. Failure of reading is not my problem, but it for sure is my obligation to bring that lawsuit before you on behalf of the children and staff with disabilities. It is never, never okay for us to ask why. It is never okay for us to look at people like we can't understand the reason that they have so much passion in their voice. It is never okay for us to ignore our constituents or the children. We say we're talking about the children. You can't believe in equity if we're taking money away from the classroom to give it to other people to come here. 22 other individuals. We can't afford it. He have in there that those funds would come from federal. IDEA funds is federal. American Disability Act funds are federal. So I ask that if he does that, I ask that you understand that I will bring lawsuits against each and every last one of you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from the audience? Seeing no other comments from the audience, we come back to the board. Mr. Lannis, sorry for the wait.
That's okay. Thank you again, Board President Tapman. I just wanted to, I wanted to comment on something that one of the speakers said in regards to my disposition. One, I want to say, if you took my disposition as disrespectful, I'm in no way, shape, or form meant to disrespect you. It is very cold inside of this room. If you look around, all of our board members, maybe with the exception of one person, does not have a coat on, and I'm not the only person in the room that has his arms folded. So I just wanted to say that. Two, I want to say I hear every single teacher, every single educator that came to that mic tonight. And I want to point something out. Just last year, we voted to raise premiums on teacher retirees that are already living on fixed incomes. That's a change that has to happen. We put our teachers on pay freezes for 3 years, while upper level administrators were allowed to still receive pay raises. That's a change that has to happen. The salary schedule is still staggered, even though we discussed this 2 years ago. That's a change that has to happen. If anyone thinks that this is theatrics, no, this is not theatrics. This is frustration. Because when you come in here, you say the same thing on the mic over and over and over and over and over again, and then nothing happens, that's when you, the general public, become frustrated because you are the one that are not receiving the action. That's the frustration we're talking about. And if we're talking about pay raises, trust me, I get it. You already make $6,000 less than the average salary in Louisiana, and you're making $10,000 less than the southern regional average. Trust me, I get it. But this is what I'm saying. Let's come to the table. Let's have conversations so that we can demand those things change. That's all I'm asking. Is can we at least come to the table and demand that things take place? Trust me, I understand the transparency that you're talking about. I understand the accountability that you're looking for. But the only way we do that is if we all can come to the table. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Lannis. Dr. Narcisse has asked to make a statement. Dr. Narcisse?
Thank you, President Tapman. I just wanted to say I appreciate the board and the community for voicing their thoughts. I'm hopeful that as we continue to move forward to do what's best for our children, that we get to a space where we can continue to work through some of these challenging areas. And none of the challenges that were brought up is not that I want people to think that I don't consider those things. What I do know is that I just want to make sure as we move forward as a community that we can make sure that we're trying to move the needle for children. In my approach to some of this work, I know there's a lot of inequities and gaps in our school system, and we will have to attack those issues. So I'm excited about the work that I will be doing with the board, specifically around the strategic plan and the KPIs. But I do know this, is that we have a lot of inequities that we have to work towards. We have to work together to figure out how we are going to solve the issues together. And so I just wanted to say, in order for us to do that, we'll have to have some approach in order to be able to become efficient in our processes to do that. And that's the big component I think that's really important in this process. And so I just wanted everyone to hear that I hear your voices, I hear your concerns. I am hopeful that as we continue to move forward to do what's best for children, that we can get into a space that everybody feels that the work that they're doing is really helping to move the needle for kids. And so that is why I wanted to make sure that I am trying to minimally get us to a space where we can be at least efficient in order to try to do certain things. And so that is what I wanted to share. Thank you, President Tapman.
Thank you, Dr. Narcisse. Ms. Ware-Jackson.
Thank you, President Tapman. Dr. Narcisse, I do appreciate you modifying that list to at least give the board members and members of the community a little more time to digest and understand the what and the why of the new positions. I would like to ask you, we touched on equity somewhat. I'm wondering how the positions that we're looking to bring on today, approve, will affect the schools that are really in need, some of our DNF schools. Could you touch on that just a bit, please?
Yes, currently, as everyone knows, we have a few schools that are not doing very well, and they're very low performing. And so the positions that I proposed in the original was to make sure that we can allow those positions, such as there was the chief of literacy, to do some direct work with teachers in collaboration with school leaders to try to be able to improve direct student performance in the classroom. The other work was around making sure that we can create approaches to making sure that we can provide a more multi-tiered system approach. So we can have systems where children who are falling behind are able to be identified, and then we can work through partnerships in terms of moving the work. Schools cannot do this work alone. And I would just share with folks is the reality is our job at the central office is to provide support to schools, and so they can be able to have the structures, systems, and conditions to be able to be successful. When you look at the current inequities that are happening in our district, schools in one part of the city that are well-staffed and that that don't have any challenges are able to perform well. But when you look at our schools where we're performing CDs and Fs, there's a lot of sets of challenges. It is not anybody's fault, but it is that you have to create system structures and conditions for that to happen. And this is why I wanted to push on certain positions to be able to help do that so we can create space for that. In our current structure that we have right now, we are not in an efficient place at the central office level to provide high level of support. And as I share with folks, I'm just being honest around that. I think that there is an approach where we believe that the schools can figure it out on their own. I think that's not the reality. So my approach has been to try to create some systems and structures where we can take the load off of schools so teachers can teach and principals can be able to support teachers in that work. But I understand that there are tremendous amount of inequities, and that my hope is that we're working with the board will identify those inequities as we create the strategic plan with our key performance indicators to be able to have the opportunity to set those structures and conditions so we can kind of work through those issues. But we have to make sure that children are a priority in that approach. And it is going to be a change management approach. And so that is what I'm hopeful for.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate your comments in that area, and I fully support you bringing on the team that you need and making the needed changes. And I'm looking forward to the board getting more clarity on this so that we can really garner more consensus on it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ware-Jackson. Ms. Collins.
Yes, thank you. I too appreciate some clarity around some of those positions. I appreciate my colleague's question. And I also appreciate us moving forward and in the future, those types of explanations being offered in a clear and timely manner so that people can better understand what's intended. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins, Vice President Collins. Mr. Ballou.
Thank you. For Dr. Narcisse, and I want to make sure, because to follow up on Ms. Ware-Jackson's question, she asked, on these 4 positions you're requesting tonight, how will that impact those schools that are struggling right now and need help the most? And I'm not sure. I think your answer dealt with the original request, and I just want to make sure. If not, that's okay. But if it didn't address these 4 positions, I'd like an answer to that.
Thank you, Board Member Blue. For these four positions, this is for me a starting point. The chief of schools will help with accountability and support for our school leaders. We have schools that are not performing very well, so the chief of schools helps to work with the principals around the conditions, around how they're actually working with teachers. They're in the current model that we currently have, although there's sets of requirements for what schools should do, there needs to be some set of practices that are pretty clear that our principals need to have as they're working with their staff, and the chief of schools keeps that accountability and support structure with their staff. And so that chief of schools will be working closely with principals to be able to improve performance in terms of support and structures as they engage with teachers. As for the chief academic officer, their whole job should be focused on high quality curriculum and how pedagogy happens in the classroom. In the old model, you will see that the system created an associate superintendent position where they've combined all these things. You cannot focus on both in order to have high quality because there's too much work that needs to be done there. So that is the reason why we've separated that approach, which has been something many districts that are very similar to EBR have done to make sure that they are, the chief academic officer can solely focus on the high quality texts and text strategies that will happen in terms of literacy across the classroom. The other component is the chief operating officer. There are a tremendous amount of efficiency issues, and so if you look in the organization, if you hear about the efficiencies, there are paper copies of things. We have buildings that are all over the city. We are losing a lot of different dollars in that space, and we have some capacity issues that we have to work through. So the chief operating officer will kind of bring all those departments together, streamline services, evaluate where we can have those efficiencies so we can help the staff to function in a much more process approach. We have tremendously many archaic systems in our current model, and therefore we're spending more dollars than we're supposed to. So this is why, and as you know, if the trains and buses don't run on time, you cannot provide academics. And so this is a challenge that we have to figure out how to close the loop. And the last part is the chief of staff position. The chief of staff is there to make sure that the approach that we do and projects are executed, and also help the board to be able to ensure that key performance indicators are actually happening. One of the approaches that I'm hopeful to be able to work with the board to do is to make data public to the community. So community members can see, like, they can click on a dashboard and see how their schools are progressing on key performance indicators that are chosen by the board. And so these are just initial approaches, I would tell you, in terms of the work. But if we don't put some set of structures and systems to create conditions, it will be a challenging space for schools. And what you see that's happening currently now in our school system is a creation of two different districts, because one part of the district is able to kind of figure out how they can function with their staffing, while the other is having some challenges in those spaces.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ballou and Dr. Narcisse. Just can we take 1 minute? Just give us a second here. Wow. Thank you. Okay, so I see no further comments from the board. I would like for council to read the motion back, please, because it's been a long time and there were a couple of variations. So can you share with particularly the mover and the second what the motion says now?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The motion reads, a friendly amendment to the motion to approve the following job descriptions: Chief Academic Officer, Chief of Schools, Chief of Staff, amend the title of Deputy Chief of Operations to read as Chief Operations Officer, and exclude the option to work virtually or remotely from each description.
Is that your motion as you remember it, Mr. Howard? Okay. So seeing no other questions from the board, we've gone to the audience.
I have one question. Is it operations officer or operating officer?
Operations. Chief Operations Officer. Thank you.
Okay, we good? Madam Secretary, please conduct the vote.
Please vote.
I'm sorry? Yeah, let's do a roll call.
District 1, Mr. Blue?
Yes.
District 2, Mr. Lannis?
Yes.
District 3, Mr. Howard?
Yes.
District 4, Ms. Collins?
Nay.
District 5, Ms. Ware Jackson?
Yes.
District 6, Ms. Dyson?
Yes.
District 7, Mr. Gode?
Yes.
District 9, Mr. Tatman?
Yes,
The motion carries.
the motion carries. We now move to K, organizational items, announcement of meetings. Mr. Lannis. Yes, sir. Take your time.
Announcement of meetings. Committee of the Whole meeting to be held February 4, 2001 at 5 p.m. at the Professional Development Center. Regular board meeting to be held February 18, 2001 at 5 p.m. at the Professional Development Center.
Thank you, Mr. Lannis. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Gode. Mode, Gode.